our sight, O Lord, our strength and Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. This is one of those Gospels that has just a ton in it. But I actually want to focus on this reading from Hebrews, because it kind of will give a little foreshadowing of what I'm going to talk about on Sunday as well. And I've always had a particular fondness for this passage from Hebrews, particularly the part where it says, "Let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us." Because I ran track both in high school and in college, all sorts of levels and medals and things, but I was a sprinter. So I ran everything under half a mile. So when we'd have to run things that were longer in practice, run miles or something like that, I hated it. It was not what I was meant to do. It was not what I trained to do. It was painful. I looked bad doing it. It was not a good time. But it's not like I had an option. When the coach says run a mile, you run a mile. The coach says run 2 miles, you run 2 miles. And I think that's instructive because we don't have a choice in the race of our life that we're going to run. Whatever is before us is before us. And we have, I guess we do have a choice. We can run or we can not. Not is not really an option. Because if you're on the path of life, you just have to deal with it. And so we don't get to choose whether we have to run 100 meters or 2 miles. It's set before us, and we have to do it. And we have to do it to the best of our ability. So when the sprinters ran with the distance runners, we looked ridiculous running the miles. But when the distance runners had to come and do wind sprints with us, they looked equally ridiculous. And yeah, we would tease each other, but we would also try to help each other and say, well, do this and it makes it a little easier. Don't run as hard as you can at the very beginning. Save a little bit. Stick with me. Let me pace you. Or just you give tips. And that's sort of what the church does when people have a hard time, when they're faced with something that they are not meant to do, when they're running some sort of struggle in life that is like running 2 miles and they look ridiculous doing it, or they're struggling doing it, and they're depressed and they're sad about it and they're angry and they're frustrated, we can come along and give them tips and say, hey, run with me, let me pace you. And I think about that in the context of this gospel reading, because this revelation from Jesus that Judas will betray him is something that Jesus has known. And at any point, Jesus could have kind of taken him to the side, which I think is how most of us approach conflict now. And we say, hey, come over here and talk to me. Listen, I know what you're going to do. Just be done with it. Jesus doesn't do that, though. He has, the Last Supper, the painting by Leonardo, where they're all stretched out, all on one side of the table, and it's, oh, we're going to have this big dinner, and I'm going to do this revelation in front of everyone, and say, oh yeah, somebody's going to betray me. Can you imagine like Thanksgiving dinner or something, or Easter dinner, if you're just like, yeah, one of you is going to betray me, and people are like, what is this? What are you talking about? Who's going to betray you? And I think that was the confusion they have. So when we hear this, oh, they thought he was going to go buy stuff for the festival or give stuff to the poor. The disciples, were just as confused by what Jesus said as we would be if somebody started talking like that at a holiday dinner. But he dips the piece of bread and hands it to him. Theology of taking communion through the cup. But then it doesn't say he eats it. After receiving the bread, he leaves. So we don't know if he eats it or not. What's it mean to receive the bread? Does he take it in his hand? Has he actually consumed it? But he goes out and he does what he's going to do. And I wonder often about this. Did Jesus do this in the company of the rest of the disciples because he wanted to show them something, he was teaching them something, or because he wanted people beside him when he was doing something that was hard? When he went to pray in the garden, he didn't go alone. He took some disciples with him. Stay awake with me 1 hour while I pray. course, they fall asleep and they fail, but he's still bringing them along. And we often think it's this stuff, things Jesus does are purely teaching moments. But I think that's disregarding his humanity. Because he goes to the garden to pray and say, listen, if there's any other way this can happen, please let it not happen. He's begging with God to not die. And he takes friends with him. It's like when you receive bad news from the doctor and they're like, do you want anybody here with you to hear the news? Because you're going to have all sorts of reactions. You're not going to remember what's said. So when he has to do this, when he has to sort of call Judas out and give him permission to go and betray him, he does it in the company of others because it's a little bit easier. As hard as it is, it makes it just that little, to have the support, to have the pace runners, as it were, if we're still sticking with the track metaphor. It makes it just that little bit easier. So why is it that we refuse such help? Why do we take people to the side and try to do it privately? And we're going to do it on our own. That individualism that, oh, well, I don't need the support. I don't need help. I don't need someone to walk this rough path with me. Jesus did. And even if he didn't need it, he invited them along, whether it was to the garden or at the Last Supper. So I think that calls us to then think about the way we interact with each other. Both when we're the ones who need the help and when we're the ones who can help. And we should look for opportunities to be that pacer, to be that support, to be the comfort and company when people are going through bad things, so that we can help them. And in turn, then create that relationship where then we can be helped when we need it. And we can normalize this vulnerability that Jesus demonstrates here. That's a hard thing, because that's not how our culture tells us we should be. But I think it's something that we should very intentionally strive for. To God be all the glory, now and forever. Amen.
If this message raised questions or stirred something in you, I'd love for you to stay connected. So like, share, and subscribe. Now go in peace to love and serve the Lord, and I'll see you next time.